Greetings, fair listeners, and thank you for joining me once again as we celebrate stories and storytelling in all their forms and the bards and artists who bring them all to life. I am the Tale Collector and your host, Erica Adams. My family and I once went to a public summer barbecue where I was introduced to a couple who are close friends of my parents. I also met their son, who is about my age. We were quick to learn our mutual love of video games, and it wasn't long before we were planning game nights at each other's houses, immersing ourselves in various virtual worlds while feasting on tacos and cookies. He was the one who introduced me to the scientific and hilarious world of the Portal series, and it was such a treat for me to introduce him to the beautifully grim domain that is Limbo. Great times. One of the best, though, came from a game that neither of us had played up to that point. I was dying to try it, I told him, but I had no PlayStation 3. He had not heard of the game, but he had a PlayStation 3. A short time afterward, to my delighted surprise, he informed me that he had purchased the game, played it, and loved it. And getting the chance to play it myself, especially with him, a friend still dear to me to this day, went far beyond my expectations. Come now and enter the transcendent world of Journey, released in March of 2012 and rated E for everyone for some mild fantasy violence. In an unknown part of the world, a vast desert stretches for miles. Glittering sands, relentless winds, and a blazing sun, a testament to its unforgiving beauty. As a light like a shooting star, blinding even in the daylight, sails across the sky, a lone figure kneels in the sand as if in meditation. Covered in a robe of rich dark copper, lined in intricate golden symbols. Their identity, ethnicity, and even gender are a mystery, their face shrouded in darkness save for the band of gold that circles their head, and their eyes that shine like twin diamonds. Erected atop the sand dune just beyond them are tall stone structures, attached to which are long cloths that wave and snap in the wind like flags. The intrigued figure arises and trudges upward through the sand toward the stones. Upon reaching the top of the dune, an awesome sight greets the figure. Just visible in the far, far distance, a titanic mountain stands, its peak rimmed with the sun's radiant glow as if it were the home of a divine being. Thus begins the pilgrim's trek toward the mountain to learn what awaits there, but not before they witness many splendors and dangers, as well as the mysterious past of those who came and lived in times long ago. It's no secret that the creation of video games often has more of a focus on gameplay and mechanics and are made according to budget and industry statistics. This unfortunately tends to come at the cost of meaningful storytelling, or at least decent characterization and plot development. That game company, the developer behind Journey, was founded with the intention of changing that. Similarly to games like Limbo, this game takes the less is more approach, doing away with written and spoken dialogue and explicit direction, and relying instead on a meticulous crafting of symbolic minimalism to enrich the gameplay experience. First off, the scenery is some of the most absolutely gorgeous you will ever see in a video game. From the sands glittering in the sunlight and rippling like silk with the traveler's movements, to the monumental ruins ever standing with quiet dignity against the elements. The attention given to the environmental and aesthetic detail is phenomenal. Literally any screenshot in the game could be named a work of art, to be admired and speculated upon. As a matter of fact, had Journey been released in time, it would have been included in the Art of Video Games exhibition for the Smithsonian American Art Museum. But its visual beauty runs so much more deeply than that. It, along with the camera often being panned out away from rather than zoomed in on the player, is a brilliant reminder of our inherent smallness and mortality in this vast world, the beauties, hazards, and enigmas of which most of us can only imagine. Hidden throughout these harsh surroundings are mysterious murals and altar-like structures, through which we are able to see the divine white-robed beings who act as teacher and guide to the protagonist. It is through them that we are offered glimpses into the past via living hieroglyphics of a people very much like our traveler, a glorious civilization that once thrived even in such a barren place. Likewise, the sounds in the gameplay are designed to transcend beyond the basic moving from one point to another. Austin Wintory's soundtrack, filled with gentle flutes and calming strings, especially the cello, isn't exquisitely poignant only to the ear. Students of media may recognize that many of the songs are named after stages of the hero's journey, a narrative pattern coined by famed mythologist Joseph Campbell in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. In very broad terms, it is the plot template in which a hero embarks on an adventure, faces a crisis of some kind, emerges victorious, and returns home with new wisdom to be used for the benefit of others. For example, The Call is named after the stage, The Call to Adventure, whereby something new or unusual happens to the hero that requires him to leave his home and embark on his quest. Threshold comes from crossing the first threshold, in which the hero, however reluctantly, finally steps out of his old world into the realm of the unknown, and now there is no going back. The Road of Trials, like its title implies, describes how the hero must undertake tests and ordeals in order to complete his task and/or survive his adventure. And apotheosis is the state of transcendence, where the hero surpasses the inner or outer limitations that held him back before, and is now a perfected being with the power to achieve so much more than ever before. Also a joy to witness are the player's abilities. The traveler is endowed with a beautiful scarf that enables flight. It starts off short, but grows longer as more magic is collected via glowing sigils. The longer and more magically charged the scarf, the farther and longer you are able to fly, allowing for more exploration and viewing of the mesmerizing landscape. The traveler's other power is the ability to emit a sort of musical chime. This allows more than just interaction for the sake of progression. More to the point of the game, it's the player's primary form of communication. Among the first beings you encounter are strange sentient strips of cloth, the same design as the traveler's scarf. As friendly as they are stunning, there are many types of these cloth creatures to be found throughout the ruins of this world. Animalistic in their sounds and behavior, the smallest and most basic in shape may fly together in flocks or simply glide where they please, warbling and trilling like birds, while other more elaborately shaped ones may float and ripple like jellyfish or soar with the gentle majesty of whales. These creatures not only assist the traveler by recharging the magic scarf, but they help to alleviate the solitude and loneliness of the player's passage. And speaking of making new friends, online, a player may meet another player, another traveler, in real time. They are completely free to choose whether to continue the trek together or to leave each other to do as they see fit. But the online gameplay of Journey offers something particularly special. In virtually any multiplayer game one can name, players are able and even required to speak to one another, whether verbally or in writing, and players' avatars are distinguished by their names, appearances, attacks, abilities, and personalities, all of which are on display for everyone to see. There is none of that to be found here. Staying true to the universality the character design is meant to represent, players have no indication as to who the people behind the avatars are. No usernames, no chatting, no screen text, interacting only with their chime. And it works. Because of this lack of obvious outward differences, there's little to no foundation for creating potential biases toward other players. True story. I met a fellow traveler during my first playthrough of Journey, and we ended up finishing the rest of the game together. I still know nothing about this other player in real life, and I still felt like we truly bonded. During my second playthrough, however, I wasn't online, and I was surprised to find that the absence of other travelers actually made me feel lonely. According to designer Matthew Nava, on page 9 of his preface in The Art of Journey, quote, "Something that I really like about Journey is that it never says anything to the player explicitly. There are no words explaining this history we created, or even dialogue revealing the character's thoughts throughout the narrative. This was a way for us to make the game accessible to a wider audience, letting it cross cultural barriers created by language. I think it is that sense of personal connection that makes Journey powerful. In a market dominated by multiplayer games that revolve around killing one another, Journey's mechanics are designed from the ground up to bring out the player's good side, and encourages players, even strangers, to be friends. While this is certainly not the first video game to be considered a work of art, if one considers previously released games like Silent Hill 2, Okami, Shadow of the Colossus, and BioShock, the visuals alone aren't what make Journey a masterpiece to behold and to experience. The beauty of Journey is that it is intended to elicit emotional responses from players and touch them on a deeper and more spiritual level. Though not without an in-game end goal to strive for, it emphasizes personal connections and a sense of wonder rather than competition, giving resplendently new meaning to the term interactive. Gather round next time for another tale you may have forgotten or have never heard before. Until then, listeners, may inspiration always find you.